primary purpose of this is what I'm saying, calling coaching. So the goal is to add value to you as individuals because we know that if we add value to you, then we'll all do better. Sound right? Sound good? All right. So this first section in the month of January is all about ownership thinking. And I'm going to tell you a story. So when I turned 16, I had my eyes on a car that I wanted. It was a Nissan Armata. You guys know what that is? Anybody in here? Got some? Okay, yeah. Probably had 19 in front of your birth year, if you know. So the car I was going to get was a Pontiac Bonneville from my parents. So I went to my dad and I said, hey, how about a Nissan Armata? And my dad said, Bonneville. And I said, Armata. And he said, Bonneville. So we compromised, and I got the Bonneville. Now, I didn't love it. You know, it was. How many know what a Pontiac Bonneville is? Thank you. I feel seen right now. A Pontiac Bonneville is about 37 feet long, and it weighs about 8 tons. I don't know if you guys have ever had a car like this, but it had the door handle. You had to push the button to open it. So like a lot of you guys have those. Nowadays, sometimes they just open. I don't know. But this one, you had to grab it, push, pull. That's 3 steps to open a door. So I didn't love the car, and it showed. It got messy real fast. I had like track bags back there, papers all over the place, and it was just a trash pit. And my parents would come to me and say, hey, like, you know, you should take care of that car because that's your car. And I'm like, I know, I'm kind of embarrassed of it. So, as happens to young men, young boys really, there was a school dance, and I had the opportunity to take a girl to said dance. And this girl, I won't name her, said yes to me asking her to the dance. And I thought to myself, how am I going to get her there? Because I looked at my car and I was like, oh my gosh, those fries are still good. So, gosh, dark blue. Yeah. Like midnight blue. So, anyway, midnight blue, cloth seats, kind of crusty, you know, but I did have, holla praise, a sound system with CDs. Who knows what a CD is? There we go. Yes, ma'am, I did. So CDs, how did you keep CDs in a car? Anybody know? In the visor, yes, yes. Now, what happened when the visor got too full? They flew, you take a left and they go right. And so I had a ton of CDs in the passenger floorboard. And what happens when they get in the passenger floorboard? Skipped. And how many heard the lie that if you just take some toothpaste, put it on the back, it'll fix it? Doesn't work for it. That's a lie from the devil. So, anyway, I said to my buddy, Tyler, sorry, Tyler, if you're watching. I hope you're not. He had, get this, my dream car in high school, a Toyota 4Runner. If you have a Toyota 4Runner, good for you. So, I went to Tyler and I said, hey, can I borrow your car for this dance? And he was like, no. And I was like, I'll pay you. And he's like, sounds good. So, Tyler was different than me. Tyler was 100% the opposite way. He was like, I'm going to take care of this thing. Because guess what? Tyler mowed yards, worked a second job, worked 3 jobs, had enough money to buy a used vehicle, purchased it, fixed it up. He's one of those guys like, it didn't have an engine in it, so I built one out of toothpicks, and it runs perfect. So he puts it in there, and it runs beautifully. He's like, repainted it himself, gorgeous vehicle, borrowed it for the night. Okay? I go pick up the car. Of course, it's immaculate. I'm like, what's this like? I get in the car, go to this girl's house. Now, give me some backstory on this girl. Her father was notorious for intimidating boyfriends. True story, he took a bullet and he wrote guys' names on it and would leave it outside the door. So, little intimidating. So anyway, I get to the house. It's just a dance. It's not like we're dating. And I'm like, no bullets. Fantastic. Is it in the gun? I don't know. So I go, knock on the door, do the whole thing, you know, got the corsage, put it on the hand, pin it on there, take pictures, walk out. And I'm like, I haven't even seen this guy. This is fantastic. And I turn around and boom, right in my face. But he's a short guy, so he's like down here. So I was like, and he was a doctor, so I won't say his name. And I said, "Hi, Dr. So-and-so." And he's like, put his finger on my face. He said, "I want you to know something." And I was like, "Yes, sir." And he said, "I really like how well you take care of your car. I can tell that you have an ownership mentality, and you take care of everything in your life really well." And I said, "Yes, sir." Yes, I did. What was he doing? He was taking what he saw in that car that Tyler had slaved over, put a lot of effort into, and made beautiful because Tyler had an ownership mentality, and he applied it to me. I got all the credit for Tyler's hard work. Now, I paid for it a little bit, but the point was that he was making a value judgment based on that performance, on how well I took care of that car and how well I was going to probably take care of his daughter, okay? So what I want everybody to do is close their eyes. Everybody's eyes closed. Now, we're going to do a little exercise. Put your feet on the floor best you can. Feel the floor. Excellent. Don't speak, just for a second. That's hard for Alyssa. Okay, now I want you to transport yourself into the future. And I want you to think about your retirement party. I want you to think, for some of you, that's days away. I'm kidding. For some of you, that's years and years and decades. For some of you, that's a couple years. For some of you, that's, you haven't even thought about that. But I want you to think about, what does the room look like? Who is in the room? What are they saying about you? What kind of cake is there? I'll tell you, for me, it'd be ice cream cake, or I'm leaving. Now, based on everything that you've seen, heard, tasted, the people you've interacted with, you're not going to be able to answer these questions right now, but I want you to think about them. What was your impact on that organization? And what value did you add? Now open your eyes. That is what we're talking about today. Creating value in healthcare, and specifically value for our practice, value for this place. Now, the scripture that we're really relating to today is from Luke 19, verse 17. It says, "And he said to him, 'Well done, good servant, because you have been faithful with little, you shall have authority over 10 cities.'" So what we want to do is, what we are given, we want to have great output. What we are what you're entrusted with, we want to be good stewards of, right? So that doesn't matter. That could be your kids, your marriage, your job, the place that you work, your church. We want to make sure that our outputs are good, okay? So every time we have a lecture this year, I'm going to do my best to answer this question. It's called the WISC question, right? W-S-I-C, write that down. It's, why should I care? Why should I care about what you're saying today? And here's the answer to that question. It's twofold. It's because if you focus on value creation, you can work with less effort and have more output, and you can work shorter hours and have better output because you're being intentional about what the output is that you're focused on, okay? Everyone on the planet, if you're not focused on outputs, are focused on inputs. And the two inputs that everyone focuses on in the world are time spent and effort used. I'll say that again. The two inputs that everyone in the world focuses on when they're not measuring outputs are time spent and effort utilized. Now, I'll give you an example of this. So, anybody here knows my wife? She is a carpenter by trade, and she can take a rusted, basically falling apart house and make it beautiful, okay? You don't want me doing that, and I work hard at it. I promise you that. You send me in a house, and you're like, hey, put some drywall up, or move this sink. I'll give it my best effort. I'm going to do a lot of work. I'm going to put a lot of effort into it, but you're not going to get great outcomes. And I want you to think about that from the tenant's perspective, the person that's renting the house. You call your landlord, because the window, just you're sitting there watching TV and the window went and fell out of the house. And now it's freezing. You call your landlord like, hey, landlord, quick question. The window is fallen out of the wall and there's just cold air blowing in. And landlord says to you, yeah, windows are tricky. They're tough. Trust me. I've been reading a lot about windows. They're hard to get in. And they fall out a lot. And the windows that we've looked at, sometimes they just fall out. I don't know. You're like, yeah, great, but the window's out. You're like, yeah, but the landlord's like, but I worked really hard at putting it in. But it's out. I know. But I spent like 16 hours putting that window in. But it's out. Okay? In that moment, all that matters to the person that receives the value is the output. So it's switching your mindset from an ownership mentality into value creation. Are we focused on inputs or are we focused on outputs? Now, specifically, this is going to look like 3 specific things. It's interconnected value, and that is what I'm going to call it the quad value model, but it's 3 sections. Draw this on your paper if you can. If you're taking notes, you can just take notes on each section. So the first one is patient value. So what we do, how are we delivering value to patients? What are we doing that gives them value? And everyone here knows that our inputs are the same in every value category, okay? They are feel, know, find, share. Right, that's our inputs. And we can systemize inputs to the best of our ability. So for patients specifically, we systemize feeling by having a great lobby space. By saying to our staff, hey, when a person walks in the door, make sure you greet them within 3 seconds. Hey, make sure that the check-in process is really kind of like up-to-date and modern. Make sure that if you see somebody struggling, you reach out to them. We can attach no by following the no technique that our providers follow, or trying to educate them specifically by sending them a video after their appointment to say, hey, your provider recommended this procedure, here's the details on that. Or specifically to find, we can make sure that they have options available to them in the office that offer fast relief so they can find the experience we want them to find very quickly. And then there's not a lot of red tape and hassle and other providers to get involved. And finally, share, we can say we can create a platform or a place so that you can share a positive experience appropriately. Okay? That's our input. But what matters is our output, right? What matters is what happens. And the outcomes that we care about are, what are our patient satisfaction scores? What are our clinical outcomes? What are our wait times? How many new patients have we seen? What's the word of mouth on the street? Because we can say, when a patient says, man, like, I've been trying to get in with you guys and get my procedure scheduled, but nobody will call me back, or no one will reach out to me. I don't know what's going on. I feel confused. When you say in that moment, yeah, but like coffee shop, right? That's nice. They're like, I care about the output, right? The input doesn't matter in the moment when the person that needs the value cares about the output. So we'd be focused on outputs. Outputs drive value. Now, inputs aren't not important, but output is what we focus on so that we don't default into effort and time. Because most shareholders, and you're going to see all 3, you're going to be one in just a little bit, care about the outcomes. The next section is team value. So when you have a care facility or a care matrix, patient value is on the top, or your customer value, and then your team value. And how do we treat our team members? We input the same way. Feel, know, find, share. So we say we want you to feel like you're a part of something. We have a very intentional onboarding curriculum. We have training. We have these games that we're playing together. We're forming teams. There's competitions. All of those are the inputs to make you feel like you belong, like you're part of something. We have a mission statement. We have core values. We do state of the practice. All of those are our inputs to make you feel something. Then we want you to know the way forward. So we have specific programming like this right now, and coming soon, the Forward curriculum, which I'm very excited about, so that you can legit pursue development and growth. That's an input. And we want you to know where you belong. Find your seat. We say, where's my seat on this bus? And why should I be there? And what's it going to look like when I get there? And then finally, share. We ask you to share in the vision with us. Because we know if you feel like you're engaged and that you're making a difference, the likelihood of you being satisfied in your job or your career is way higher. So those are our inputs. And we can be super systemized about it, right? And our outcomes are specific. What's employee engagement? What's the mission adoption? What does professional development look like? What's our turnover rate? If our turnover rate is 83%, and the leadership team is like, well, I mean, we did have a draft, so I guess it's on them. Okay, it's not on them. It's on us, because the output doesn't lie. You can have all the programming, all the curriculum, all the input that you want, but what matters to the team is what the decision is. What is the recurring outcome? Because trust me, there's been many times that I get defaulted just like anyone else, but it's their problem, not mine, because I've done this. I've done A, B, C, D, E, F, G. And if you don't like that, then there's something wrong with you, right? That's an input. That's input measures, not output measures. The final part is economic value. Now, we've talked about Patrick Lencioni, who's a pretty well-known leadership author, says that you have to care, number one, about your mission, number two, about your people, and number three, about economic value. Economic value is what drives the boat. It's what makes the car run. It's what allows us to do fun things. And that's something that you need to be aware of that falls on me specifically in the leadership team more than it does on you, because we have to be good stewards of our resources so that we're making the right choices. And so what do? We follow a very similar algorithm when it comes to our inputs. So when it comes to feel for economics, we're seeking what the Lord wants us to do. We're asking people who have been in our shoes before, doctors, practices, what are they doing that we're not doing? What are other teams experiencing that we're not doing? What do we feel like the Spirit's leading us to do? What do we feel like people that we're in small groups with that are leading businesses asking us to do? Okay, now we have a feeling, a general sense of direction of what we should do. Now, honestly, like, what are we going to do? So understand when it comes to that no section, your leadership team is like getting together, and we're going to let's plan this out. So we have very specific programming around let's put our heads together. Let's say, what is it going to look like in finances? What is it going to look like in revenue for the next year? And how are we going to know if we get there? What are our input measures going to be? We're going to know what this is. When it comes to finance, we're going after it. We set the goal, now we're going after it because our team's depending on us. Our team is depending on us to make sure we build out that bottom right side of the matrix. And then share is that we're sharing what we've been given back with the team and the community. That we're investing in our people. We're investing in the ability for people to get better. We're investing in the community in different ways. Those are the ways, our inputs. But what matters is what's our growth, right? We could have all the intention, hey, that strategic planning was awesome. You guys had great goals, but we didn't grow. We didn't do anything. And we come to you and say, hey, revenue's down. We made some poor choices. We've got to let half the staff go. We want you to know we worked really hard. We tried really hard. In that moment, as the person having to deal with that consequence, you're going to care really little about what the input measure was, because the output measure is really, really significant. Next is are we opening more clinics? Are we adding more lines of service? Is our mission advancing? Those are the output measures. That's adding value, which is the first constituent of an ownership mentality. And here's what I want you to see. This is really important. In any business, and this is just our business specifically, you have your customer-facing value, your economic value, and your team value. And that supports your mission value. If you neglect one of those, your mission's out of whack. So once all those are taken care of, the mission can be fully supported. And how do we determine whether our mission is being supported? What are our company metrics? How do we using our resources for that we talked about at State of the Practice? Are we really providing that fresh air experience? Is it a different thing? Are we aligning between the day-to-day operations and the missions and the goals, right? Because what happens in healthcare specifically, and this you'll also see apply to multiple avenues of life as well, is when you allow different parts of the model to not work, it doesn't work. It doesn't work. So in private insurance companies, the way they get this model wrong is that they prioritize economic output and patient value over team value, and then your mission is just kind of hanging off in the distance, right? The same is true with a hospital model. We may have a little bit more impetus on patient care and economic value, but now your team's getting smashed. And so that leads to burnout in the team or patients feeling disconnected because we're not balancing the model appropriately. Not everything in any business is only economic. So people say, what's the purpose of business? The purpose of business is to make a profit. One part of it is the purpose is to make a profit. But if I don't have team outcomes, if I don't have missional outcomes, if I don't have patient outcomes I'm measuring too, the whole thing falls apart. And that each of us have to adopt that model, right? Because ultimately, you definitely care about myself and the leadership team paying attention to outcome directives. And your patients that you're serving also care that you focus on outcome metrics instead of falling into, here's how hard I worked, and this is the time I spent doing it. And this is not only true for this place, but it's also true for life in general. And you can use this in any aspect. So if I'm looking at my personal life, my economic value is how do I deal with my own resources and talents? How am I spending my money? How am I spending the talents God has given me? Where am I investing my time? What am I doing with my circle of influence? My team value is my family. Like, how's my relationship with my wife, my kids? And then ultimately, what's my relationship with my community? Because that's who the Lord's putting around me. That's who that's who I have the ability to engage with. What's my church relationship look like? What's my work team look like? This tri-value model, if I'm only focused on money, if I'm only focused on my community, if I'm only focused on adding value to the family, then some other part of that's going to get out of whack, and then my purpose, my why, my reason for being here is going to fall apart. Sound good? Okay. So what I want you to do going forward, and then we'll close it here, I want you to take 2 or 3 minutes, and I want you to think back to those questions I asked you at the beginning. What was your impact and what value did you add based on what we've talked about? So what were your outputs? And starting today, based on your specific role, you may be in middle management, you may be in coffee shop facilities, you may be at billing, you may be a provider. What specific outcome measures can you start to hone in on to ultimately change what value you're adding today and what impact you'll have tomorrow? Sound good? Then I'll close it out.